Have you heard yourself saying this lately? It's just so hard to get rid of it all. What am I talking about? That comment was a comment that a wonderful viewer left in response to my conversation around noticing where religious dogma is still playing out in your life and how to untangle from all of that. That was her comment. It's just so hard to get rid of it all. I understand that. So in this episode, I'm going to give you 3 other things that you can focus on and what to do rather than focusing on getting rid of all of the programming. So let's get into today's episode. Like I said, this comment came through after I did a very short video, maybe 2 minutes, a little bit over 2 minutes, on how to recognize the blind spots of religious dogma still showing up in your life, okay? Now, if you have heard my story, you know that I tell you it took me over 2 decades after I left the physical construct of religion. However, religion was still operating within me because I did not recognize the blind spots. I was not even conscious of that. I had to figure that out on my own. So what I am giving you is something that I wish I would have had as a helpful way to help me navigate my life and reconnect with the truth of my authority as the original woman. I'm giving you what I wish I would have had to help me through that process, okay? So I always say you cannot disassociate from religion through just your mind, all right? Because that was the thing that religion attacked, was your mind. Okay? It had your mind in a chokehold. There is another level of liberation that is beyond just leaving. There is another level of liberation beyond your mind. That liberation happens in your body. It happens in your nervous system. Because when you detangle from that religious programming, you're unleashing your identity, you're unleashing your authority, you're unleashing your power as the original woman, and you're embracing your true essence. That is what is going to be expressed. So, you can leave church, you can leave religion, but the dogma hasn't left you, right? Which means it's still operating. It's still affecting you. You still identify with it. And this occurs without you being conscious of it. So, like I said, how do I know that? Because 20 plus years after my religious experience, I realized that the dogma was still very much in control of how I operated in my life. So, yes, I was glad I left church. I felt, free. My time was free. But yet, I felt like I was still in this cage. I felt like I was still in a box, all right? I felt stuck. And then I started asking just out loud. I didn't know who I was talking to. It didn't matter. I just started asking out loud, what in the world is going on? Why do I still feel stuck? Very spiritual, some would say even magical things started to happen. Magical things begin to happen when you start asking expansive questions out loud. When you start to ask questions out loud that are heartfelt questions. Why does it seem like your eyes start to open? Because when you ask yourself those expansive questions out loud, you're reconnecting with that cosmic force that runs within you. You're reconnecting with that, all right? So it's like you're flipping on this light switch that has been off. It's been there, but you've just been passing by it, living through it, pretending like it's not there, or even being told that it's evil to turn the light on, okay? So, with no one else around you, it's just you and your words and your frequency. That is magical because you are reconnecting with your own spirit. You're reconnecting with your own soul. All right. So I came to the realization that dogma, okay, those crazy religious, self limiting, self degrading ideologies was still covering my true identity. All right. So I started to see little ways in my life where religious programming was still in operation. So I had to go through that process on my own, which is why I'm here to give you guidance in steps to recognize those blind spots and what to do about them. Okay. So going back to the comment that this young woman left, she said, it's hard to get rid of it all. Instead of focusing on getting rid of it all, focus on how you feel. All right. Feel into the difficulty. Feel into the challenge of untangling yourself from the dogma. Feel into that challenge. Why am I telling you this? Because your nervous system, when you do this, your nervous system has to recalibrate to its original settings. And in order for the recalibration to begin, you have to notice and be aware of what is currently there. And what is currently there is the challenge of untangling from the dogma. Because in a sense, you're untangling from an identity, you're untangling from a construct that was handed to you. You're untangling from programming that does not belong to you, that is not essential to you, that is not authentic to you, that is not real for you. All right. You feel the challenge because why does it feel challenging? That challenge comes into play because the life that you have lived has been rooted in programming. And it's been misaligned to your true identity and authority. Am I telling you to look at the life that you have lived as somehow a waste or, a waste of time? No, no, no. That's not what I'm saying. But the way that you have operated has been based off of programming. So the way that you operate is the way that you build your life, is the way that you move about in life, is the way that you connect with people, is the way that you build relationships. So now that you're unraveling from that, it is natural to see some of the things that you have built based on that program foundation to unravel. It doesn't mean that it was wrong. It just means it's a part of your recalibration. So not only are you recalibrating from the inside, you're going to start to notice that recalibration on the outside as well. All right. So another reason why you feel this challenge is because the spiritual practices. Now, this one is very specific. The spiritual practices that you have always felt home, that have always felt home to you, that programming, that dogma is telling you to stay away from. So, for example, ancestral veneration, connecting with your ancestors. You have been told as the original woman that to do that is evil. When all that dancing and music and shouting that you did in church, that's what your ancestors did. Your ancestors, the way that they connected with the cosmos, the way that they connected with nature, it involved dancing and music. That's a very simple example. But you were told that that as a spiritual practice has been evil. Meanwhile, ancestral veneration is in your face all the time, especially if you live in the Western world, in the United States. What do you think Mount Rushmore is? Okay, let me move on from that before I get off track. So here's what you need to know. This recalibration that is happening, that you're witnessing, that you're feeling, it's not going to always feel like a challenge. It won't. It won't always feel difficult. So I have to let you know that. View it as, if I can use this example, view it as walking upstairs, okay, a flight of stairs. So you get to one level and it can feel, tired. You can feel tired. But as you complete each level, instead of you feeling tired, now all of a sudden that tiredness has been transmuted to anticipation and excitement because you're getting to the end. All right. The anticipation increases and it ends up becoming a game and this excitement to get to where you want to be. But just know this. That recalibration, you'll recalibrate from level to level to level to level. That is an ongoing thing. It's not like you just get to a recalibration and then that's it. Well, there's levels upon levels because, again, your soul is expansive. All right. We're not detangling from religion only to get over to really reconnect with our spiritual authority, to bring in that religious idea that there is a cap. No, your soul is expansive. So therefore, your spirituality is going to be expansive as well. All right. So another point that I want to make to you is when you feel that static between the dogma, that resistance to your recalibration, I want you to practice deep breathing intentionally. You'll hear me talk about this. All right. And actually, let me pause here. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. All right. Also, if you have not already done this, I want you to go to unleashedalchemy.com. And right now you can get the complimentary workbook that I put together on how you can recognize where dogma is still playing out in your life and what to do about it. Also, when you sign up today, you'll be the first to know when I open my private community. Okay. So going back to the episode, unleashedalchemy.com is where you can sign up. So going back to breathing deep intentionally. Deep breathing is so essential because it will help you recognize when there is a specific moment, a specific thought, or perhaps even something that you saw that triggered that static and that resistance. Also, deep breathing is going to help you reconnect with your body. Again, we're talking about nervous system. We're talking about your identity. Being aware, going back to the trigger moments, being aware of those trigger moments will keep you in the practice of identifying the blind spots of where the dogma is still operating in your identity. It becomes a practice where you'll be able to notice instantly, oh, I know where this thought is coming from. Oh, I know why I'm being triggered by this because this dogma is still lingering here. You see how that works? But you have to make deep breathing intentional because it causes you to pause, to be in the moment, to pay attention to what you're thinking. Okay? So the second point that I want to make here, instead of trying to get rid of all the dogma. The second thing you can focus on is turn your focus toward the liberation that you have already created for yourself. Turn your focus to the liberation that you have already experienced. So, what's an example of liberation that you have already experienced if you have left church? Well, first of all, you freed your ears from listening to that dogma, from taking any of those limiting stories in. You have said, okay, no more. I'm not going to even listen to that anymore. I'm leaving this. I'm leaving this construct. You have freed up your energy and time. You have freed up your time because now, instead of you spending time in some church service, okay, you can invest that time back into yourself. What does this look like? What can this look like? This can look like you rediscovering what you love. You rediscovering how you want your life to look. You can use this time and invest back in yourself to determine, okay, where do I want to live now? Do I really like where I want to live? Do I like my house? Do I like my apartment? Do I like my condo? Do I like this city? Do I like this country? Do I like the way that I bring in money? You can focus your energy now on the way that you want your bank accounts to look. Focus, use that time that's now freed up that you're not using to go to church. Put that focus back on you, that energy back into you. Okay. Third thing is this. Can actually be tied into the second point, but I wanted to list these out separately. Third point, focus on who you want to be, not who you should be, not who you have been, but focus on really how you want to be. How do you want to express yourself in this life, in this body? What feels like a natural existence for you? So let me give you an example. Maybe your entire life up to this point, you have scheduled everything to a T. Everything is scheduled. Your time has been regimented. When actually, instead of having all these schedules, what actually feels like a natural existence to you is to be more spontaneous. Perhaps the only schedule that feels natural to you is a flight schedule. Okay? Is a travel schedule. Maybe that is an existence that feels natural to you. Maybe an existence that feels natural to you is waking up by the water, spending the majority of your time and your energy in nature, hot or cold. Maybe that feels like you're finding that feels like more of a natural existence for you. That's part of your expression. All right. So what you can do, just based off that example, those examples, now you can ask yourself, well, if my time was scheduled and structured all the time, how can I start to be more spontaneous in my life right now? These expressions, this different way of being now, it's not about you flipping everything over and just destroying everything. It's about taking these steps in your everyday life right now. And what you're going to find is that your energy is going to influence the outside environment because you are showing up different. The universe has to respond. The universe does respond. So how can you Be more spontaneous in your life right now. All right. So let's go over those 3 before we close this episode out. So instead of focusing on getting rid of all the dogma, I want you to feel into the challenge. All right. Feel into the challenge. I want you to turn your focus toward the liberation that you've already created for yourself. Focus on how you can create more liberation. Number 3, focus on who you want to be. What feels like a natural existence and a natural expression for you? Go be that now, today. So, for additional support, go to my website, unleashedalchemy.com, and download my complimentary handbook. It'll help you recognize the dogma and the blind spots. It'll help you untangle from dogma so that you can unleash your power, so that you can embrace your authority as the original woman. All right, unleashedalchemy.com. Let me know what your takeaways are from this episode. Until next time, be sovereign.